Okay, I'll call the last video like Linux Micro and Control Control C. Yeah. And I don't know if it'll be listed exactly that way on YouTube or not, but anyway, I'll kind of put a link to it, in the description or something. So, anyway, but yeah, this video is about, trying to set up the, server, as a file server. So, what you'd think would be really, really straightforward, right? But, it kind of isn't. Now, like I said, to demonstrate, because I got it mostly working, and I'm not exactly sure how I got it working, but to demonstrate the fact that it is, this is on Windows, I got, and you have to basically do a run command. I got some of the preliminaries in the previous video I made. But basically I had to run the CentOS, which is defined, in this host file here that's on Windows. So, if you want to ever name a computer on your network something else, almost like a domain name server, a DNS server would do, you can do that. I actually have a domain name server set up on the main server, but I haven't bothered messing with it because apparently it's just for like Wi-Fi shit. But in any event, apparently you gotta like, log in through it or something. I thought there was some setting you could set on your router or something that would actually, send your request through a local domain name server, but DNS server, but apparently not. Anyway, but as far as this basic file sharing, I mean, at least I got this set up as a server. I still can't get like peer-to-peer networking properly set up, even between Windows machines, let alone, I mean, because, that's what sucks is doing what I'm basically trying to do here. Okay, back in the late 90s, okay, with like Windows 98, networking used to be simple. You used to, just set up a peer-to-peer network, using NetBEUI and ISP-SPX protocol. And, it was a little technical, but man, it always worked. I could network any computers, on a Windows network back then, without a router or anything. I mean, it was just straight peer-to-peer. So you could go 10 base T cable, or, which sometimes would be a little complicated, but when you got to RJ45 based networks, it got considerably easier where you're dealing with actual hubs, instead of the 10 base T wire, which is the old coax, which did involve a switch, so you didn't need a router. I'm not a router, but a hub. You didn't need a network hub back then, or a router. But and then once they finally got to, and that was still good to go clear up through Windows 2000, but when they got to Windows XP, well, I started having problems. I could not get Windows XP computers to see the rest of the network. They just wouldn't configure that same way. So I couldn't set them up like that for some reason. I never quite figured out why. Because I wasn't a network expert or anything, and I'm still not. But at the end of the day, I could at least get a basic network running. But when XP came out, all of a sudden I couldn't get computers to talk to each other anymore. Although if I had more than one XP computer, I think I was able to get them to see each other. But I can't remember because I had so few at the time, XP computers. Up through 2003 or so. I mean, like I said, but then once I finally got to the point where I finally started using routers, okay, well that cleared that all up. So finally I could, network Windows XP machines competently again, and using internet protocol instead, so, because prior to that I generally not used, the IPv4 or whatever it was, you know, the Internet Protocols, ISP, or no, the well, HTML, or well, not HTML, but you know what I'm saying, the Internet Protocols. IPv4, I know, is one of them, and I know that it's called something else, but it's kind of slipping my mind right now. It seems like it's called something else. But anyway, you know, the Internet Protocols, you know, setting it up with fucking, you know, the what the fuck is, it's a very common term, you know, but setting it up with, you know, with Internet Protocols was pretty easy to do once you had a router, you know, but then, and I think that worked, I remember, you know, because again, after that, you know, once I started getting to Windows 7, you know, by the time I'd reached that period of time, I was having trouble communicating between my Windows computers again, but I'm not sure if that was a hardware problem or not, but because it may have been, but I just know that by the time we got to Windows 10, well, that didn't work again. So I still, to this day, cannot get Windows 10 computers to see each other reliably, let alone any other computer reliably. So, you know, in other words, but it actually doesn't even work well with between Windows 7 and Windows XP, even with a router. Because even right now, I've got a router set up on another network, but there are some computers that can't quite see each other. And that includes two Windows XP computers seeing other Windows XP computers. But I know some of that had to do with one of my computers has Windows XP on it, and it's not up to date because there's no way of really updating Windows XP anymore. So, and I had to do a fresh install a long time ago because the computer crapped out on me. So it's basically got the same version that you would get on the installation discs from like 2001. So, you know, you're talking like Service Pack 1 or 2 or something on it. But anyway, it doesn't quite work properly. So that could have something to do with it on that particular computer. But in any event, you know, as to whether a given Windows XP computer though can like see my Windows 7 computer, no, not necessarily. I mean, one of them can and one of them can't, even with a router. So yeah, I guess the router really doesn't work with Windows 7. So again, every time Microsoft comes out with a new computer, you know, it seems our new operating system, they screw it up. You know, it just gets worse and worse. So, and Windows 10 is no exception, because at least Windows 7 was still more network friendly than Windows 10 is. Because now, even with a router, you just can't see shit, and I don't have a clue why. You know, they just keep making it more and more difficult and unnecessarily. You know, whatever they're doing, I mean, for a home network, it shouldn't be that complicated. It just shouldn't be that complicated, because you're basically behind a fucking firewall anyway. So, you know, it's not that high security of a deal. You don't have to worry about errant employees trying to plant a virus on your system because the network's closed. Now, I certainly want the Wi-Fi network to be higher security, but that's a, you know, the wired network shouldn't be that big of a deal. Why do they keep making it more and more of a headache all the fucking time? I have no idea. But it's to the point to where they've actually phased out being able to see computers like this, you know, the traditional way, you know, seeing computers, you know, by going through Network Neighborhood or whatever, you know, just, you know, apparently they're not doing that anymore for some bullshit reason. So it's like I said, you know, that's the way I'm used to being able to see computers. So otherwise, I've never been able to successfully log in by entering addresses or anything when I couldn't otherwise see the computer in Network Neighborhood. You know, I say Network Neighborhood, that comes from the Windows 98 days, I guess, but still, it's the same concept basically that they carried through. But yeah, I mean, you know, normally they don't work like you're seeing here, where I can actually see, you know, different users or whatever. So, but even with this, I can't, you know, like browse the network or anything now graphically. So, and even trying to see what you have plugged into the network, even when browsing worked, was still difficult. Again, you got to really log into your browser or something that gives you a clue, but you don't always know what it is you're looking at, and you have no way of analyzing from a router what it is that's plugged into it. So, not with any kind of real idea or not. So, you know, a lot of times you don't know what the hell some of that stuff is. and there's no other way of probing it. And there are some software tools, you know, for like Windows and so forth, and I guess some probably for, you know, for you know, Linux for doing that too. But I mean, it's that tell you some information, but still, I've not found a program that can actually just go in and analyze your local goddamn network and tell what is, you know, plugged in on it, you know, at least as far as what addresses are being used and everything reliably, you know, with some explanation. I mean, because you know, either comes up with too many addresses where you know there's not that much shit plugged into it, or too few, you know, when you know there's more plugged into it than that. So I mean, I don't know why it's such rocket science, and this is just a bunch of horse shit. So anyway, and like I said, in a corporate setting, maybe they want it to be complicated for some reason, but this seems like just a bunch of bullshit to me. I mean, these people just need to get their shit more together. So they're just making this thing more and more patchworky, because that's all the internet and all this networking crap is, a bunch of patchwork. You know, it's people, you know, putting patch after patch after patch, you know, trying to fix problems every time they come up, to where eventually you have a big Frankenstein, you know, crazy quilt, you know, of a system, you know, that works by patches. It's not well thought out at all. So I mean, this is crazy. I mean, they should be able to provide better functionality and better visibility and you know, stuff on a network than this. I mean, this is just crazy. But in any event, you have to go through crap like this to even get a modicum of, you know, because this is the closest I've come to successfully getting these computers to all talk to each other. Because, you know, like I said, up till now, I hadn't even been able to get Linux computers to see each other peer-to-peer, let alone see Windows computers, and have Windows computers see them, and, you know, and be able to communicate. I mean, the closest I came to success was using the, you know, that Python. There's a, you know, you can create like a web server on Python by specifying a port. It's, no, I don't have it up on this computer. But it's like Python -m, and then you enter your IP address and then a port number, you know, after putting a colon, or something like that. But anyway, it creates a Python web server. But that seemed to work, you know, between Windows computers and Linux, and also Linux computers and Linux. But you know, you have to use Python, and it's kind of primitive. It's, you know, but it worked. Apparently, you know. I didn't have as big of a network as I have now, though, so, you know, I can only try it so much. But at any rate, you know, the point is, that's the closest I'd come before this. So, I mean, this is the closest I've come to actually making these computers all talk to each other, because at least they can talk to the server for the most part. So, you know, as far as I can tell. Again, I haven't tried this on Windows 7 yet, and I do have a Windows 7 laptop, you know, that I might try it with here in a few days. But this is what I basically do. You know, I mean, at first I had this file, and this file right here is, you know, because you know, again, I went through like three different tutors on how to do this, and no one tutor actually worked. So somehow, and I'm not sure how, but between all these tutors, they actually worked. So it was primarily these two tutors I went through, this Linux Eyes, and, you know, then that other one. I thought there was a third tutor, but maybe not. Anyway, but you know, this IT master, and you know. So at any rate, but you know, it was a Samba, and Samba was automatically installed on that CentOS server, so that's what I'm setting up. So, you know, but basically you could install it, and there's installation, you know, which I did run this command, but apparently it was already installed, so there was nothing to do. So, and you had to change your firewall settings, I know that. So, you know, that's actually pretty important on CentOS. So, you know, this makes it permanent, so when you reboot, you know, it'll work. So, you know, you basically just have to, you know, add service Samba, and it seems like I think you had to do that too on SSH to get it to work, because SSH was pre-installed on CentOS too, but it wouldn't work for some reason. So, But I determined, that had to, it's on port 22 or 27 or something. I know 22 is typical, but it seemed like 27 was also a port that it needed, and it seems like I had to do something about that or something. But I know I had to mess with the firewall to get SSH to work. I'm pretty sure. So once I did, it worked perfectly. But before that, it just wouldn't work. I mean, you couldn't see the server. So, but I know that firewall is a big deal on CentOS. So it may not be a big deal because CentOS has its own firewall program or something, and which is a little different, on CentOS 7 than OS 6 or whatever. And I don't know, what, if any, firewalls other versions of Linux may or may not have installed, but I don't get the impression that there's one by default. I didn't have to mess with one on Ubuntu to talk to my server, so I doubt that, there's firewalls like there is on the CentOS server. So, but at any rate, you will have to mess with that, but it actually was not that big of a nightmare once you learned that it was there and just how to do it. So, some of these guides tell you how to do it temporarily but not permanently, so it got really frustrating. But that's why I'm trying to cram as much as I can remember, because I did this a few days ago, and like I said, on my other video, I'm still not quite sure how I actually got this to work. So, that's why I'm making this video. The other video was like 31 minutes long. But it's mostly talking about other, I'm going to attempt to document. Okay. Yeah. But it's mostly talking about other aspects. I got off on this text editor and some, setting up Control-C instead of Control-Shift-C and all that crap, to work with these things. Because those are making me pull my hair out. But yeah, you had to do this, and then you had to, this is making a backup of this Samba configuration file. Okay, and then, let's see. Okay. I'm looking at the right, yeah, and then she's editing this configuration file, and she wants to, she actually starts with the file empty. I didn't do that because I actually got off and, I tried doing this, but I didn't empty the file, and then I immediately tried to start this more sophisticated one, which sets up more users. That's why I have all these users set up. This is anonymous, which is what this tutor deals with, is setting up anonymous, and this other tutor deals with these other three, and it goes about it a little differently. So at any rate, but basically, I suspect, since the last thing I did was comment all this stuff out and then it worked, that basically following her advice and starting with a clean file might have been the best way to do it. Because I don't know what some of this stuff was, and the information on what this stuff is so lengthy. I mean, you just don't want to go through it, especially when you don't even know if it's going to work. Because I've had such nightmare experiences with networking, in general, particularly with Windows computers involved, that, like I said, I just don't have any confidence, and I sure don't want to spend any more than the dozen hours or more than I'm already spending on it, when I don't even know if it's going to work, period. So, I try to be as quick and dirty as I can, and sometimes that creates a mess. But at any rate, I think it was commenting this stuff out that actually made this work. Because again, this is this configuration file, the Samba configuration file, and I did make a backup, and you'll see that in a minute when I stop out of this. But yeah, this micro text editor is a good text editor overall. I like it. Yeah, so basically this other tutor, involves setting these users up, what you see here. But then this top tutor ended up setting up the anonymous user, what you see here. So, but basically that's what I did, is I made pretty much the top of this file look like hers after you factor in the comments. So, and that's when everything started working, but it was, but everything started working at the same time, so that's what was interesting. Because see, the other tutor, and I noticed because I was looking at both of these at the same time, the other tutor didn't comment all this stuff out. So that's why I was, there's a conflict of information, and that's what I can't stand about the internet, though. You get a bunch of out-of-date information, and you got to do your best to piece it together, and then cross your fingers and pray that it'll work, because it's all just out of date. I mean, there's just nothing up to date. I don't know. I don't know if that should be outlawed. Should be responsible for the information you publish, and information. I just don't. As an aside, I don't understand why fucking Google, for example, doesn't make everything on the internet sortable by date. Everything should have a date on it. Everything, every piece of information on the internet should be dated. Now, barring that, somebody like Google should know how old things are, because they know when on their little search engine, when a site first appeared on it, they should have a first appearance date. They should be able to tell how old a given piece of information is, and really whether it changes, because they in their little previews, on a Google search, they got descriptions of the website. Well, that's got to change every time the file changes that it's referring to. So they should have a clue whether a file changes too. But they may not keep track of that, maybe. But then again, you got to figure that stuff's in a database. They could keep track of it if they wanted to. But all this information should be sortable by date. That's what still irritates the piss out of me. Is it would help a lot if you could just sort by date. If I could have the newest information listed first, or list it between a date range. If I could search databases properly on the internet, a lot of this frustration could be eliminated, because at least you get some idea to be able to filter out older information. And it helps, but I still say a lot of these assholes regurgitate old information just to try to keep their website traffic up, even when it's not accurate. And that shit should be illegal. I think, honestly, new laws need to be passed where you actually get in bad trouble if you're caught doing that, because it really just, oh man, it wastes so much of people's time out there. It really should have some serious consequences. If you put information out there, you need to at least verify it's basically accurate, that it basically works. So, if not, it should have an archive on it, or an unverified, tag, to where you can filter that shit out if you want to, and that will force people that actually want real traffic to start updating their information. If it was, you were at least legally required, to, if you want to put a tag on your information, it's, you've got to verify it, as if you want to say your information is up to date, you need to verify that it's up to date, and under penalty of law. That's the only way to correct it. Otherwise, you can put it out there, but you just can't say it's up to date information, as of the date you release the information. So, but it's got to be certified to work. You got to certify it. So. And two, another thing you need to be able to do is filter by country. You really need to be able to filter out, if you don't want to receive information from like China, because it's, hell, for one thing, it's all written in Chinese and you don't speak Chinese, and because it's not just a matter of communications either. Even if you translate their website, a lot of times the information is just hard to distinguish and rely on. You should be able to filter that out. You should be able to. It's just ridiculous that you can't. And that's what I'm saying. So if you have like Russia, that's putting a bunch of bogus information out there, because they don't want to play by our rules, well, you can just filter Russia out and stop, paying attention from to Russia's information, because it's inaccurate. So you can leave that out of your searches. So if anybody doesn't want to play ball, because it might be illegal in this country to do it, for example, or in Europe or whatever. But, Russia won't have laws that, prohibit bad information out there, so they'd clog up the internet. The same would apply to India or whoever, And it's like I said, it's just good to be able to filter out countries that you don't want information coming from. You should easily be able to do that, out of your searches. It's ridiculous that you can't. So, you should have more versatility in how your information is presented to you. So, And I mean, holy shit, what if you wanted to do like research on a given set of countries anyway? You might be interested in how different countries use their internet. Well, how can you do that if you can't filter out all the other countries? I mean, you're going to have a real hard time going through all the garbage out there. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to being able to actually use the internet as a proper database. So, because that's what is irritating these fucking search engines don't even work that way. I mean, you can try to use search query, paradigms on it, but it really doesn't work. Not like it should. So, and then dates are just a wild card because a lot of, I want to say most people don't put dates on their shit. And again, I think that should be a legal requirement, but that's just an opinion. But I still say it should definitely be a legal requirement that people like, Google, actually catalog dates, because they can do it. They can know when a website first appears. Okay, they can know when the information changes if they want to, and that's all metadata. So it's like I said, yeah. I mean, this can happen, and it should, because it's bullshit that it's not like that. Anyway, I know I wasted your time on that. Just a pet peeve of mine. Doesn't help having ADD. Okay, so this but yeah, I don't know how I got this damn thing to work, but I do know you have to change the ownership properties, and again, I think that's what's going on here, because like I showed you in this other video, this anonymous thing, I can copy files into it, but I can't copy files into any of these folders, and I think that's because the permissions are set wrong. It's my theory. The ownerships are set wrong, what have you. I don't know who needs to be the owner, and if it needs to be anonymous or whatever, but it depends, because it's a group thing, and I'm not sure what group they set up, because that's not really specified, because you got this anonymous comment path, so that's where it's at on the server. I set it to browsable, even though some of these guys don't, but I think that helped. That was one of the things that, if it wasn't browsable, you couldn't see anything, it seemed, but I'm not really sure, because again, this thing just kind of out of the blue started working, and I'm not exactly sure why, because I went through several iterations on this without it working and then working properly. But at any rate, you can set this up. This test param, will view the Samba configuration, so and show you, how it's kind of configured, and it'll print out a big list of stuff, basically almost a parrot of this, although there's some things that are different when you do this test param. Okay, and then you gotta enable and start the services. After you're done editing the file, but if you ever make changes, well, then you gotta kind of like restart the services or something. I think one of these other things talk about that. Yeah, and then you try to log into it, and this is where they talk about the Windows run command, and that's why I had to run it from Windows. On Linux, this other folder tells you how to log in on Linux, how to do this on Linux, which we'll cover in a second, because this just talks about Windows. That's what's frustrating. I had to use like 2 or 3 different guides to get it to work as well as it does, because no one guide worked. So, and again, that's crappy information for you. That's the internet, next to useless. Could have gone to the library and honestly got a book on this and probably figured it out a lot faster, and maybe it would have worked, but maybe not. Who knows, because it's likely to be as out of date as anything, right? But it doesn't have to be this way, is what I'm saying. It just bends me out of shape that it is. Anyway, this tutor sets up these 4 users, and I did set up this one, but not in here. So basically follow their directions on this, but I guess I can you know, close this file for you, because basically it's you know, basically it's like they have it. So I'll do a Control Q, you know, and stop out of micro. There's no reason to save it, so hit no. Okay, so I'm SSH'd into Linux from Windows 10, which, like I said on that other video, this is easy to actually get going. And you can see my backup files there, you know, with Samba example was the one that came included, and you know that. You know, it's the backup I made. Those are my aliases, by the way, and I guess they work on even on Windows. I'm so surprised. They don't work as well from logged in as root for some reason. I haven't got that figured out yet. Okay, but you know, that directory we were in, let me more. Well, hold on a minute. Okay, edit Samba configuration. So I'm going to edit it. Oh, seriously? Oh, yeah, I guess I can't. I'm not in that directory anymore. Shit. Where was it? It was in... son of a bitch. Yeah, this is how you SSH into the computer, by the way. Because I had to do it in this PowerShell. The more advanced PowerShell wouldn't work for some reason. I don't know why. You know, the one that has the menus in it and stuff, the fancier one. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, basically, I should have done a PWD in there. It would have been a little easier. Okay, it's etc. Samba, basically. Damn it. See, I hated this about Windows. I mean, you know, you go into the abyss, you know, if you go down too far. This is ridiculous. No reason for it to work this way. There's no fucking text down there. It shouldn't know that. Fucking piece of shit. Oh god damn it, I guess I could have done that anyway. Okay, etc. Shit. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now I got a scrollable copy that I can look at. And see, you know, this is another thing I gotta figure out. Control Z is the only way I know of to get out of a file. Well, I guess that didn't do me a lot of good, did it? Son of a bitch. Hold on. I want a version of this file that I can actually scroll up and see. But I don't know how to do that. I mean, that other one, okay, there we go. Okay. But yeah, I still don't know how to stop out of programs. If it, you know, Control Z is the only thing I found that works, but that just suspends the program, whatever it is you're running. It doesn't actually stop it, but I just haven't found another key combination that works yet. I'll probably find one if I get around to searching for it. Anyway, that's our file, so we can go reference that if need be. Okay, but basically install Samba on CentOS, and you know, that's what we're using, CentOS server. You know, so this just goes through installing it. Again, it was already pre-installed, so and this talks about configuring the firewall too. And okay, it tells you how to do it permanently. This is the right article, right? Yeah, it tells you how to do it permanently as well. Because the other one did that as well, I believe. Okay, but this, you know, talks about creating, you know, see, this other tutor didn't really talk a lot about how to set it up. It really just set it up like this, and that's it. You know, that's all it did. I mean, it didn't talk about making groups or anything like that. So, and this got into doing that, And again, neither of these tutors are actually right, but between the both of them, for some reason, it sort of worked, although it's not perfect. Doesn't work perfectly. You know, sudo make directory Samba. Okay, so it's basically just going into that, but this is telling you about how to create a group. So it's basically creating a Samba share group. Okay, first a Samba directory, which, you know, you can see here, Samba. See, we got Samba, and it's owned by Samba Share. Now this other one, you know, had us create a directory, you know, because then this is from the first tutor right here. You know, it's in serve Samba anonymous. So let's go see what that looks like. Okay, anonymous is owned by nobody/nobody. So for some reason. So in any event, I don't know if that's supposed to be, because she doesn't. It seems like it was, though. It seems like she said that somewhere. I don't. In her tutor, I don't know for sure. But I might have actually done, you know, yeah, I don't know. Let's see, boot changes, testing anonymous file sharing, because she goes right into the Windows crap. Let's see. Open configuration file. Okay, now she does change ownership. Yeah, to Samba, say -T. Samba share of anonymous. So yeah, she's changing the yeah, the SE Linux. Yeah, okay, that was about SE Linux, I think, or something. Yeah, so it says you got to change the SE Linux security context of the directory, but you also got to do this. So this is how she told me to make this directory. Okay, this make directory -P, and then, you know, change mode on the file 0775. So I set the permissions, and then change owner to nobody-nobody. So yeah, she's the one that told me to do that. So, however, like I said, every time you create a file there, it doesn't really work. And you can see here that we've got you know, some files in here. Let's see, miscellaneous 3D tools and shell scripting. So, you know, that, you know, are those two directories we have in there. See? So, but basically you can't write anything to them, and it says nobody, so I don't have problems writing permissions into it, into the into this directory. Okay, but you know, this is hard to say. I don't know who would own this. You know, you'd think that it wouldn't be a problem, though. Control S, Control Q. Oops. Oh, well, yeah. Oh, permission denied. That's why. Yeah. So it won't let me write files here. So I don't know how you probe who owns the file. Oh shit! That's why I hate this thing. You know, you go through the help and it gives you like a mountain of information to read. Changes silent. I'm not a fast reader, not with my ADD and screwed up eyes and everything. I do not read fast. Do not traverse, change owner. I guess there's no way of listing who owns the damn thing. There probably is. I just don't know my way around the command line enough. So anyway, the point is, I mean, I can try to super user into it. A lot of my things won't work right though. Control S. Okay, it says it saved it. So, all right. So, okay, it's owned by root, but that's not surprising. I know there was. It seemed like there was some command you had to do in Linux, and you guys are probably going to know this, but there's some command that you do in Linux, I guess, that makes it so that they're anything they. I mean, it should work though because we have the ownership, the group, but maybe it's, I don't know. I mean, when somebody logs in this way, I don't know if they're automatically a member of a nobody group. I mean, I'm not really sure how that works. Let me try to go back up and look at our file. Let's see, this anonymous thing. Comment, path, browsable. Force user equals nobody. So I'm not quite sure what some of this stuff does. Like I said, I still don't really understand much of this stuff, and I'm trying to learn here. I'm just trying to make this video so that I don't forget what I know, and, because I'll probably go away from this for a month or two, and I won't forget it all. So I'm mostly making this for myself, but if you happen to be watching, I apologize. I'm trying to relay everything I can and I can remember here. Let's see. So, but at any rate, yeah, that's what we did. So we made this nobody, but it seems like the only way you can. I don't know if I can set myself up as a nobody in here or not, but I wish I could. But yeah, I don't know how to do that. And let me look at something. Okay, so we created this, but surprisingly, I can read it. So I guess I can't save it though. Yeah, it won't let me save it. No. Yeah. And you don't have permission, so it's like I said, I'm surprised I can even look at it. I guess it's got, permission to view. Yeah, it's got, permissions to read, but not write, so, okay. Now I should be able to edit it, but I don't want to have to do that every damn time. Control S seems to have worked. Alright, groovy. So, now, alright, so, there we go. Okay, but at any rate, yeah, you have to do that, just to, make it work. So, I mean, there's some way you can change this. I just don't know Linux that well yet, so, obviously you don't have to mess with stuff like this in Microsoft, so it's still a little confusing. At any rate, that's how that works, and I don't know if that's a clue or not to you guys watching this video as to what might be going on here. I don't even know how to list the groups, damn it. the groups that are on the computer. I actually was looking into that the other day, and it seemed like there was no actual way to do it. You can't like list all the users or something either on a computer from the command line, which is ridiculous. Because see, I didn't have the on CentOS, I didn't have like utilities installed on it by default in the GUI, because I did install GUI. It's not a headless server. But I didn't have the utilities to actually, like add users or anything on it. I mean, it's real bare bones. I mean, it's kind of pointless, really. But the fact of the matter is, I'm like, well, how the hell are you supposed to list, who are, how are you supposed to manage the computer? It's a server. Okay, well, you need to be able to manage the owners a little better than what I was seeing. I mean, just doing it by the command line was real crude. I mean, you could not list the actual owners. It was a big bunch of garbage it would return, that you had to sort through. Well, that's going to lead to problems. You're going to be fucking something up with, having to work with tools like that. You're going to be giving people permissions that shouldn't have it, or fucking up people's permissions that do have it already. And I mean, that's just nutty. And especially since usually these servers are run headless. I mean, seriously, there's got to be better tools. I'm sure there are better tools, but they're probably not free, or something. Or maybe there are some tools out there I'm just not aware of. But I mean, that's just ridiculous. But it doesn't do that by default. You would think that would have something built in for it, like it has SSH built into it and some of this other shit. Samba was built into it, or came with it. Not management tools, really. And I couldn't really find any, I don't think either. But anyway, that's an aside. I still managed to install some kind of toolkit on it for GUI operations, but as far as the other stuff, I haven't found any yet. But at any rate, okay, so back to the root. Okay, so this other, that kind of tells you how this first one was set up. And like I said, when I first actually tried to run it, well, shit didn't work. Now, like I said, I didn't follow her advice in making, and totally just blanking out this file up here. This file here. Control-Shift-C. Man, sure I still have to do that. I don't know if I do or not. Actually, I should have tested it, but I didn't want to have to scroll way back down here again. Control-V, Control-V doesn't work, so. Guess Control-Shift-V doesn't work either. Bitch. See, this is just fucking bullshit. Fucking horse shit. Fucker. Son of a bitch. Fuck! God damn it! That's Control-V, Control-Shift-V, Control-Shift-C bullshit. And it doesn't work. I mean, none of it works. I got no fucking way of copying information into this fucking thing. I can't copy and paste at all. Not with Control-Shift anything. Control-Shift-V sure as fuck doesn't work. So, son of a bitch. Piece of shit. Let's see if that's a problem on my other. On Linux, I'm logged in too. Control-C and Control-V doesn't work, but that's not a big surprise. Now, Control-C and Control-Shift-V does work if you're on Linux. So, that's not a problem. And on here, for some reason, that's not, like, going through. It's probably because, well, maybe I can still do it by mouse button. Well, no, I don't have a mouse menu. So, it won't open up a menu, so I can't even do that. At least on Linux, I can do that. So, I mean, PowerShell sucks. At least it sucks when you're logging into Linux. I never use PowerShell, by the way. I always use the command line if I'm on the PC. But I don't think it worked on the command line. I tried SSHing into it, I believe, and it wouldn't work. But I could be wrong about that. Maybe I just didn't know what I was doing at the time. But let's see. The version. Okay, so net config. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I don't know about this. Anyway, yeah, but yeah, I don't know if SSH worked or not. I forgot how you tested it, because there was a way of testing it. No, I guess that works. No, I guess it works. I mean, I guess I could probably SSH in through the command window then. So, yeah, this is the tutor I read on how to do this. You know, would specified, you know, this, but you know, it looks like you can do it with a command shell too. So I'll try that one day, because again, I almost never use this PowerShell thing. Anyway, but the fact of the matter is that you know, that's how this one thing was set up. But now these other guys set this up again a little differently, because they went and set up these groups. So, which I thought was intriguing. That's why I went ahead and did it this way when that other way totally failed. Anyway, I had to make directory Samba, and you know, you can see in Samba, you know, this is root, but it's, you know, got Samba shares like a user, I guess, or the group. I still don't know which is which. You know, if it's a group and then owner, or owner then group. So I'm gonna assume it's owner then group. Okay, but you know, so here are the three groups we have. I guess I didn't set up an SSAdmin. Well, I thought I did. Let's see. So you know, so here are the various owners, but then the group owns the whole thing, with the exception of this. You know, so that's actually tied to root. So because I went ahead and set that up to try to test it, but and it worked. So, but you know, I got to get my password, and it'll never remember my credentials. But see, you know, okay, not accessible, whatever. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This thing's not consistent. You know, I can log into, you know, both of these, and these, I don't have problems copying in directories with information in them, but it's just that anonymous I do, and that's what I wanted to look at, is what the differences between these two are. But whatever, because this was working yesterday, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, this bullshit is inconsistent. You know, I mean, it's very inconsistent. I do not know. I may actually have another folder with that open in it. Maybe that's the problem. I have no idea. I do not know why this isn't working. I don't think I got my case set wrong or anything, so yeah, whatever, piece of shit. I mean, you know, like I said, this is just bullshit. I don't know why the fuck I keep going through crap like this. It's just this networking crap just does not work. What the fuck is going on over here? Oh, no way. This can't be. What the hell's happening? Let's see. Oh, my Linux computer is not behaving properly for some reason. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my other Linux terminals. I got some shit up there that I can't close, because I was trying to install these, trying to solve that Control-C, Control-V problem. I installed all these other terminals, like eTerm and all these others. I can't close that at all. I can't shut that down. Going through the same equivalent system admin or task manager or whatever. I can't shut it down for some reason. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But said some of this crap doesn't work. Let's see where I'm at here. Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem at all from this computer logging into that same BERT folder. So that, so like I said, this, the other day I was able to get into, but now I can't, and that's what I'm saying, is Windows bullshit networking is bullshit. But I don't know, that Linux networking is not the same, so the networking in general I know is bullshit. But in any event, on this other computer I can log into it, and I've been logged into it, but I was logged into this one too, but now I can't get in there for some fucking reason. This just works whenever it fucking feels like it. So, anyway. Fuck you, you fucking cocksucker. Like I said, I don't think I've got other windows up in that. Nope. Yeah, no, that's the only window I've got up relating to that, so fuck, I don't know. But at any rate, this was working, and now it's not, so, but it still works on the other computer. I'm not quite sure why that is, but you can see, that there's root ownership. That's why but it does have full privileges. But that's for root still. It's the root owner, but I still think you can view it. Let me look at that. Oh, that's what I was trying to do, is to copy that fucking folder that I'd opened. So I didn't have to scroll all the way up here. Yeah, but let's see. Browsable, yes. Read only, no. So. Yeah, I don't know. And here's the directory mode it's supposed to be in. Create mode is supposed to be here. So these have all the same modes. I don't know. So I still don't know what those mean really. And you don't see a create mode or anything up here. So maybe that's what it's missing. I don't know though. I mean, I guess it knows to look for under these titles. This applies to this title, so alright, so it knows this is different than this, so which is different than this, so it applies to this one, this applies to this one, so I guess it knows how to parse it that way. So in other words, I should be able to actually like copy this and maybe apply it up there, and maybe it'll work properly. I don't know, but anyway, I'm not that worried about it at the moment. Okay, but okay, so we can see the ownership, is interesting. So we got, and there's the sadmin, the mysterious sadmin account that I created, which doesn't have its own folder. It's not mentioned in that file. But it's supposed to be like an admin of this whole thing, but it doesn't seem to work. So, but anyway, this got ownership by BERT-TT, and that's why I need to try to log into it, I guess. Because otherwise, the file settings are the same, as the other users. So, but you know, the permission isn't. And so, you know, these other users are Samba share, you know, so they're owned by the Samba, you know, the Samba share group has access to them, but when it comes to BERT, you know, that's not true anymore. So, you know, BERT is the only owner, even though Samba share should have access to the damn directory itself. Oh, well, that's users group. Okay, but that's interesting. So yeah, that's users. This is root/root. So I don't know. It's very strange. Like I said, let's see, P1. Yeah, because here we were. So like I said, you know, this is the ownership you see in here. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty strange. So, what? No. Yeah, I guess that one's not showing up because I don't actually have this one defined. It's in this directory. It's got the proper Samba share ownership, I guess. But it doesn't show up here as an option because I don't actually have it in a file. I just have 3 of these, and then that fourth one is anonymous from that other area. So, yeah. What? Okay, but at any rate, yeah, see, Samba share owns, you know, that, so that's probably why that accesses it. Man, what did I do that for? Fucking idiot. Anyway, the Samba share owns that. So, anyway, that's kind of what's going on. But how I created this crap, you know, is I had to, you know, make the directory, then I had to add a group, Samba share, and this is the only way I could do it was by command line. Because again, I still don't think I have the tools activated on that server to do it graphically through a GUI. Anyway, but I had to, you know, do a change prop. Change group, rather, Samba share / Samba. So basically, you know, that's, I guess, how you change the group property. So, in fact, if I did that again, that might actually work. Yeah, no, it didn't work. Because I think, let me try to see if I can do that recursively. Nope. I don't want some of these work with capital. I want some of these work with capital R versus. Anyway. Okay. Okay. Now that corrected it. So okay. So I assume, I don't know if that reflects an immediate change in permissions or not, but capture. Oh. Yeah, 47 megabytes, that's small enough. Yeah. I guess that doesn't translate through. Maybe it's just because I haven't restarted, though. It might just have a bug up its ass. Who knows? But in any event, yeah. So change group, Samba share, Samba, whatever. You know, but you got to do that so that the people in this group can log in. I guarantee you that's why most of these, you know, like this one and this one, you know, I can actually copy stuff into properly. You know, this one, generally I can't. I can copy into it, but it's still not quite properly. I can't make folders or directories. Oh, actually, yeah, that's right. This is not in the right place, so I don't know what I was thinking. I'm gonna go through that bullshit again. So let me try changing. Well, I don't know if that'll fuck that other one up, though. Okay, but yeah, this anonymous thing. Yeah, it says force user to nobody. But again, it doesn't say anything about being a member of a group, though. But I think this other one did that. Because I mean, it changes the ownership, you know, to nobody/nobody. Okay, but that's a group. You know, nobody's a group, and I don't think she ever made anybody a member of a group. So I'm not quite sure how that's supposed to work. Let's see, work group. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't say anything about a group here, so I might be able to change the group to Samba and have it work properly. Maybe. But the user add -m Samba Josh -s no login -g Samba share Josh. So basically, these users don't have standard account structures set up, I don't think. You know, standard like home folders or whatever. And they can't log into the computer, but they can log into this, you know, folder anyway. So it's adding user with these settings right here. You know, create the user's home directory. You know, set the user's home directory to, you know, our directory in Samba. Disable shell access so they can't log into the thing. And I almost accidentally set my root user to that. That's what, you know, was scary. So, because I use the same thing to create that Bert TT, you know, and it's like one of the root users. So, Samba share. Samba share group. So, anyway, that, you know, so it adds him to the Samba share group and the Josh group, I suppose. So, well, no, I guess Josh is just his user, but it, you know, he creates his own group, I'm sure. But okay, and then, you know, the directories are made afterwards, and then ownership of that directory is assigned, as you can see here, to the Josh user of the Samba share group. And then it changes mode to 2770 access privileges, which I'm still a little confused about that. I don't know exactly what that 2770 means. I'm familiar with 777, you know, giving you full access on those three, you know, 3 levels here. But I'm not sure what the trailing 0 does. I mean, does that set the type, or I don't know what that does, so I haven't figured that out yet. So yeah, this is how you set up the user. So I guess you've got to set them up after you add them to the group. So add the Josh user account to Samba database by setting user password. So okay, so set Samba password. So Samba has its own password system. Is what the deal is. So you got to set a Samba password. Because I don't think it asked you for a password back here. It may have, I can't recall, but it seems like it did, but I'm not sure. Not totally sure about that. But in any event, you got to give it a Samba password. So, which I think I had to do that when I first logged into this. I can't remember. Had to enter a password if I recall, but I can't remember for sure. I'm sure it was true though. I'm sure I had to. But yeah, you got to add a password, so, and then that actually adds the user to Samba. So the thing is, I don't think I did that over here. So I didn't have to do a password, but it is an anonymous user, so an anonymous user shouldn't require a password. And it should be that really anybody in the network can access that. But the problem is, I think I still had to use a password. So I don't know why. So again, that's why I say this thing kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. Create administrative user, and see, this is where I came up with this sadmin. But this, as far as I can tell, doesn't work. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't log in with these credentials. I know that, and so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that, but I know that this person does not have his own directory or anything, but he doesn't have a listing in a file, so I'm not really that surprised. Nor does he have a folder, and it's called ssadmin or sadmin. So but he does have Samba password. That's what I'm confused about. Okay, so we got a guy called sadmin that has a password, but but no directory or anything. So like I said, if you remember the Samba group, the admin is supposed to be part of that, plus any users that are added to it, is supposed to have access privileges to their accounts. So you can see he's added a Samba share, group. So, but I don't know if he's got like extra privileges established, because again, not in the file. ssadmin, Samba users. Okay, so sadmin is supposed to be involved in users, but it's not. For some reason, Bert is. I don't know why. Huh. It's weird. But at any rate, for some reason, I can still log into it, but it's supposed to be sadmin. It's supposed to be the user. It's got the same access privileges. So okay, and this is how they edit the Samba configuration file. See, this guy just says edited. He doesn't say start with a blank file or anything. What the frick? But anyway, he has users and Josh, so that's why those are the two that work, I guess. Except that it's not Josh, it's Bert instead of Josh. But so, but basically this is what's going on here. Son of a etc. Samba. Okay. Okay. Alright, so, yeah, so we got, basically, I basically just copied these to make this new user, and I guess it sort of worked, but sort of didn't. Let's see, sadmin is supposed to be a valid user of any of these groups. So, but again, sadmin doesn't really have their own actual listing here. So, you know, which I could set them up with one theoretically, but anyway, you know, this gives an explanation of these options that we set up here in this. So it's read only, and like I said, you know, they set browsable to no on some of these things, but I would set them all to yes because I was having problems. So I don't know what setting it to no looks like, except that maybe you can't see the folder, you know, in your main window, and I'm not sure as hell don't want that. I'm sick of not being able to see shit. That's my #1 pet peeve. Read only, you know, and we don't have these set to read only. Force create mode, so okay, newly created files in the share. Okay, so basically that's the create mode, but like I pointed out, we don't actually have that set in anonymous. So I think if I actually move this around, I'd have to restart this, but I'm going to go ahead and do this. I think if I copy these two things up here, you know, which this came from that first tutor, if you recall, I think if I put them up here, that may actually fix the problem of not being able to copy folders and files in there, because changing the ownership didn't seem to do it. But so I'm going to edit this file with micro here, micro editor. Let's see. Yeah, I wish that actually worked with the cursor itself. Okay. Copied selection, just pressing Control C, copied it. Oops, Control Z undoes, just like Windows and Linux GUI, and Control V pasted it, just like Windows and Linux GUI. Okay, so hopefully that'll fix the you know, the issues I've been having. So Control S to save, Control Q to quit, and I'd have to restart the service, and I'm not going to do that right now. I mean, we'll find out if it works. But I mean, that may work. If it doesn't, well, it'll still work the same as it does, I assume. And again, who knows? Maybe if it stops working altogether, I'll create another video bitching about it. So, you know, but yeah, you'd have to basically restart the Samba service and the NMB service, you know, after you make changes to that file, and then do the test param, you know, on it too, which I can actually do that. Well, fucker. What? Just press enter. Okay. Let's see, like I said, you can see this is still should be set to my old because I have not restarted the services. So, well, I don't know about that. And it shows that it's being part of it. Strange. I don't know if maybe it's because I hit test param. I don't know. Anyway, maybe that was already like that by default. I don't know, but Any rate, I'm not really sure. I don't know if that made any difference or not, but I know we'd have to restart the services, and haven't done that yet. See, connecting to Samba share. Okay, so using an SMB client, on Ubuntu, and I do have this installed on Ubuntu, and it was already installed by default on both of these, I think. Both Ubuntus, because I had two Linux Ubuntu computers. One is 1804 and the other 1604 LTS. But I haven't tried logging into it with Fedora yet. I mean, I do have Fedora on one of my computers. I had Linux Mint too, but I erased it on this computer I have over here that I got Ubuntu 1604 on CAE Linux. But it was a nice looking little operating system. It's a shame, but I had to because I needed more disk space. I had to move some shit around. Let's see. Yeah, I think I made I was wondering if I'd made a video about how I dealt with that too, because I actually ended up, on Linux actually making, linking other files in to alleviate disk space. That was a whole big affair. Too, I think I've got a video about how I dealt with that. Moving some of my, bin files or whatever, to or it wasn't some bin files, but it was some of the system files. Well, the installed programs I moved actually to a different partition, so without a problem, without it too big of a problem anyway, as far as I can tell. Because that was a big pain in the ass figuring that out. Okay, enter work group password. Okay, so this is, installing that client. Okay, mounting the Samba share. I have not actually done this before. It seems like I did this and it worked. As far as just logging in with a command line into it, I think I did that and it worked. But this, I never actually mounted the disk, and that would be interesting to do that. It would probably make it a little easier to work with in some ways. But, it would probably just create a temporary mount point, but I don't think I ever messed with doing it that way. But the GUI I did on Linux. So, this is basically how it does, but you gotta find the connect button, which can be tricky to find, but it depends on whether you're using Nautilus or whatever, but you'll end up finding the connect. You'll have to go to the connect. Usually it's like connect other places or something like that, that you'll have to go to. Connect to servers, what you're really looking for. And sometimes if they've got a directory, you'll be able to use it. Drop down menu or whatnot. Sometimes you'll be able to find it there. Sometimes it's right clicking. But you got to find that connect, because you can't just browse the network. That shit doesn't work. I don't even know why they have that there, because I can't really see much just simply browsing the network. On Linux or the PC. Yeah, this fucking computer is really fucked up. Some of those browsers, I don't know about that e-term. I don't know if I'd ever install that if I were you guys, because my computer's been kind of fucked up ever since that. Again, I can't close it, and I can't click on my desktop at all, and I can't even click on some of the background applications. The only way I can actually get those to operate is for me to actually click on the title bar, so I can actually bring the applications to the forefront. But I can access every window by doing that. It's just that I can't click on my desktop at all on Linux. So I don't expect that kind of behavior out of operating systems other than Windows. Okay, select registered users, and then you'll have to do that. And sometimes I think I had to enter passwords or whatever, but it worked. So again, at first I still couldn't see everybody. I mean, it was a nightmare actually getting this thing to actually work properly. So I don't know, I would have thought this would have been a whole lot easier of a process, given the fact that this was one of the first uses of networking. Was to share files. Share files and printers. Those were one of the first uses of networking. You'd think that would be actually the most refined and easy to set up, but no. Setting up SSH and fuck, even VCN is easier than that, although I haven't figured out how to VCN with my damn server yet. I can't seem to get that to work properly because, again, that server is on a really old computer, and I can't even fucking update it to the latest PHP. I mean, to install WordPress on it, I had to go with a slightly older version of WordPress because I couldn't upgrade it beyond PHP 5.4. So I couldn't upgrade it to PHP 7 or better, or even PHP 5.6. I mean, because I couldn't install that stupid what is it called? Yeah, I got a link to it here, but the stupid, that call a package. No, that's not it. It's getting out of hand here. Too many fucking directories. Programming is not it. Okay, it's not. It's CAE Linux. That's what I'm looking for. Nope. No, it's not. I don't know if this has been synced or not. Let me look. Should be up. You see, I can't just fucking click on it. God damn it. Okay, but yeah, huh. What the hell happened to that folder? Other bookmarks? Oh, lamp, but well, whatever. I don't know what the fuck it was. I mean, I made note of it because it was such a pain in the ass to try to deal with. But yeah, there's a package that out there that it's from another repository or whatever, but it allows you to access Fedora, and their repository. But no, I mean, you would install it, but then it gives you this missing file thing. So that was a real pain in the ass. But no, I mean, I couldn't, but that's why I don't know how far I can take it with this server, because it's such an old computer. I'm lucky it works as well as it does. Particularly having CentOS 32-bit on it, so I had to go to that, that one group that converts 64-bit stuff into 32-bit. It's affiliated, with CentOS, but at any rate, yeah, I don't know. But that's, pretty much all the bullshit I went through trying to get this to work. So if I ever need to repeat it again, I can at least refer to this video, and if you ever want to go insane again, you can watch it again. So anyway, that concludes it, I believe.